What's up? I'm Drew. I'm an amateur runner here in Flagstaff, Arizona. Today I'm going to talk about the ASICS Superblast series version 1 versus version 2. Superblast 1 was an extremely popular shoe. I actually did a video on the Superblast 1 as my preferred long run shoe. I'm going to put a link to that video both in the description and here in the video. Today I'm going to talk about what's different in version 2, how does it feel versus version 1, and what are my overall thoughts on it. I've done one easy run of about an hour, and I've done a long run of just over 2 hours in the Superblast 2 over the last 2 days. And overall, I think it's pretty good, but here are my thoughts. So there are a few noticeable differences, some would call them upgrades, in the Superblast 2 from the 1. Those differences are mainly going to be in a few areas: the midsole, the upper, and the outsole. So I'm going to go through what some of those changes are and what I think of them. Okay, in the midsole of the Superblast 1, there is the FF Turbo foam, but then in the Superblast 2 they use the FF Turbo Plus foam, which is, from what I understand, that is the super shoe foam that's used in the Metaspeed Sky and Edge. So big upgrade on the foam. I actually could feel quite a bit of difference between the old version and the new version. It feels a little bit more responsive when you toe off, and it feels just a little bit snappier. It almost feels firmer than the Superblast 1, but not so much that it's actually like a firm feeling shoe. It still has a good amount of cushion and quite a bit of bounce. So that bounce and responsiveness was the main difference I noticed between the Superblast 1 and the Superblast 2. I like both of them, but if I were to pick today, I'd probably go workout long run in the Superblast 2, and if I were going for something maybe more of like a steady effort and a long run, I would probably go with the Superblast 1. So that's the main difference I noticed in the midsole. In the upper, in the Superblast 1, it looks like they use something they call an engineered mesh. Whatever it is, it feels kind of scratchy and plasticky. It's not super flexible, so like it doesn't form fit to your foot. And with me, I could feel, since I don't have like really thick feet, my feet are pretty skinny, I noticed like just a lot of material in the upper. It's not like it was a problem, but I just noticed that. In the Superblast 2, the upper is a little bit more of like a kind of like a knit material. It feels like it's a little bit warmer maybe, but overall it's a lot more snug to your foot, and it did feel quite a bit more comfortable. Less material to play with, and it looks like they narrowed it maybe a little bit. Yeah, it looks like the upper seems a little bit more narrow than the Superblast 1 in my size, which is a men's 10.5. And in the outsole, the Superblast 1, the outsole was fine. It's actually held up pretty good. I probably have like 200 miles, maybe 150 to 200 miles on these Superblast 1s. It's got a pretty normal tread pattern going around the outside with a little bit of exposed foam down here below. That foam, after 100 miles or so, 150 miles, it's starting to wear, but it's pretty darn good. These will probably go, I would bet they'd go to 450 miles, maybe 500 miles for me. The Superblast 2, hold on, got some thorns in here. The 2 has a lot different of a tread pattern, so it seems a little bit more aggressive with the tread on the outsole, and it was very grippy. So today, the roads were pretty wet on my long run today. Felt no problems with this shoe, not slippy at all. It felt great. Still some exposed foam in between, which is pretty normal, but the main thing that I liked, biggest difference between these two outsoles, is that the Superblast 1 has these crevices where rocks can get stuck. So I just, after every run in these things, I'm picking little rocks out because I live in Flagstaff. I run on dirt roads. There's rocks everywhere and little pebbles. So you're just like carrying these little rocks around for the ride, and I really hate that. In the Superblast 2s, they totally fixed that. So they filled those in. There's still a little bit of a pattern, but they filled it in so that you don't pick up rocks along the way. I thought that was a huge upgrade. Obviously, they listened to some feedback, which is fantastic. So when it comes to weight, you can't really feel the difference, but I'll put the weight up on the screen just so you can see the difference between the 1s and the 2s. Again, I feel like the 2s are just a really, really solid shoe for responsiveness and kind of like workouts. What I like about them is they're not plated. They kept that, which is fantastic. If they would have thrown a plate in the Superblast, I would have been really upset. But it's a great shoe for someone who doesn't want a plated super trainer. These are definitely in the super trainer category where you have super foam underneath. They're really high stack. They're highly responsive. That comes with a high price tag. But I mean, I'm pretty sure that all of the other super trainers on the market that I am aware of have a plate in them, and I'm not a fan of that. I don't like carbon plates in my trainers. I like to be able to do hard long runs in a light, responsive shoe without having the help of a carbon or a nylon plate. And then when I transition over to carbon shoes for faster work, then I can really feel the difference, and I feel like I get a lot of benefit out of it. And I'm not weakening any areas of my feet or legs that could cause injury. So like I mentioned with the midsole, the Superblast 1, it definitely just had a lot more play in the upper, and it's a little bit more of a wide fit. So that's fine if you have like wider feet. I did notice the Superblast 2s to be a little bit more snug here in the toe box, which overall is pretty good, but it's also it's flexy. So if that's a problem for you, it seems like it'll flex quite a bit, whereas the other material, this stuff just does not flex at all. From a fit perspective, the fit on the Superblast 1 is a little bit less forgiving than the fit on the Superblast 2, but overall no problems. They both fit pretty true to size. I wear a 10.5 in pretty much every shoe. These shoes were no different. Despite the Superblast 2 having a little bit more padding and like with this knit material, it feels a little bit, maybe a little thicker than the Superblast 1. The tongue is still like very sleek and nice. It's pretty thin and feels really good on the top of your foot. The lockdown is pretty good as well. I usually just loop through these extra eye holes on the side of the shoe, and I don't do any special runner's knots or anything like that, and no problems with the lockdown. The heel counter is like slightly padded. Again, haven't had any issues with rubbing in the heel, knock on wood, but overall, fits pretty good. Comfort level is very good. I really like the responsiveness and the bounce that the Superblast 2 has. When you're toeing off and just bouncing off the forefoot, it feels really good. You can kind of roll through your midfoot and your heel without any issue. Or if you're a toe striker, it's also not really a problem. I kind of do both. When I'm at slower paces, I'll kind of like land flat on my midfoot and then roll. When I get tired, sometimes my form will get sloppy, I'll get a little bit of a heel, and when I'm really pushing a lot harder, I'm all toe. So overall, I took this shoe through all the paces and no problems whatsoever. So to recap some of the specs and technical differences, the midsole on the Superblast 2 is a big upgrade. I felt the upgrade. It felt fantastic, very responsive shoe. Overall, I feel like I prefer it, but I also have 2 pairs of the Superblast 1s, so I'll probably just pick and choose these for maybe some harder efforts and the Superblast 1s for some longer, more steady work. The upper design is different, but overall, I feel like that's an upgrade as well. There's less play. The knit material is a little bit more comfortable, might be warmer, but I feel like the comfort kind of balances that. And in cushioning, they say that the 2 is more fine-tuned for some faster paces. I also believe that because I could feel it on my last 2 runs I've done. Kind of cycled through some strides, some faster paces, and then also slower, easy stuff into some steady work. All around, fantastic shoe. They didn't F it up, so that's a huge win in my book. Now I'll get into how they actually feel just being put to use. Yesterday, I did about an hour run with some strides at the end of it, slightly hilly on a dirt road here in Flagstaff. Very smooth dirt, but also lots of little rocks and pebbles. I feel like the main annoyance with the Superblast 1 was what I mentioned, where rocks get stuck in the shoe. You can feel it when you pick up a rock and then the tread lands on asphalt. You can feel that rock scraping on the ground, so you have to stop and like pick those rocks out. That's fixed on the Superblast 2. So for someone like me who often is running on gravel trails and roads, it's just kind of a quality of life upgrade. I really enjoyed that. So yesterday I took them out for an 8-mile easy run. Today I did something a little bit harder and a little bit longer, about 30K in around 2 hours. So my pacing went from easy paces and I progressed to a little bit more of a steady effort, slightly above marathon pace. And then I worked in some kind of like threshold pacing on some surging and steady rest in between the surges. A good way to test out my long run shoe, because these shoes I use almost exclusively for longer, steadier efforts. The Superblast 2 did fantastic today. Main difference I noticed, because this is the type of run I would do in the Superblast 1 as well, is the responsiveness and the bounce was huge in the 2s versus the 1. The 1 feels just a slightly little bit flatter when you're trying to up the pace. But overall, like effort level, heart rate at some of the paces I was running today, they are virtually the same. I just felt like once I got up to like a threshold effort, so that paced me, it was probably like 540 toward the end of my run. That like 540, 530 pace actually felt super good on the Superblast 2s. The 1s, they also seem to have kind of a wider base. Let's see if I'm right. No. All right. So it looks like the base of the shoe is actually pretty much the same, which was unexpected because they feel less clunky. So I don't know what they did in the 2s, just felt way less clunky and felt really good. Key takeaways for the Superblast 2: more responsive, feels a little bit like it's more well suited to a workout run or a workout long run than the Superblast 1s. But overall, both shoes, I think they're fantastic. It's definitely my favorite non-plated super trainer that I've ever tried. And yeah, now I've got 3 pairs of Superblasts, so looking forward to running in them a lot. Generally, the Superblast shoe is great for lots of different paces, like I mentioned. So if you're a slower runner and you want something that's good on easy days, soft, maybe you can travel with it, it's a fantastic shoe. And then it also gives you the versatility to be able to do a longer effort if you want. You can do something like strides after your easy runs, or if you're doing something maybe in the threshold range, you can do that as well. So threshold would be like your hour race pace, maybe mile repeats, maybe some shorter cruise intervals at like 400 meters of threshold stuff, or even some longer tempos. This shoe is great. It does, like I said before, the 1 feels a little bit clunkier to me than the 2, but overall they're both fantastic shoes for all those paces. What I wouldn't recommend it for would be like racing a 5K or some of those shorter, really, really high intensity efforts, unless you're a runner where your 5K time might be a little bit slower than the average runner. In that case, maybe it'd be great for you because it gives you a lot of extra support with that foam. It's definitely very stable on your foot, so if you pronate a little bit, it kind of controls that and keeps it from becoming a problem on some longer runs. So that's it for my comparison of the Superblast 2 versus the 1. Overall, loved the 2s. I have 2 pairs of the 1s, so I'm looking forward to running a lot in them over this marathon block over the next about 10 weeks. If you're interested in seeing that, I'm doing a series every couple weeks called the Build to Berlin series. I will be posting a new video roughly every 2 weeks on my training, what I'm doing, how my life is affecting training, how I balance what I do. And I'm working toward a time of hopefully 2:29 or faster at the Berlin Marathon in the fall. So check that out. I'll also put a link in the description and here in the video. So if you're still around, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions about the shoe, drop those in the comments. Let me know. I respond to every single comment, and I'm looking forward to hearing some of those questions. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel. It makes a huge difference in supporting what I'm doing in trying to build some educational content for newer or kind of intermediate runners who are looking for helpful information and to be faster, better versions of themselves. So thank you. Peace out. I'll see you next time. Appreciate it.